This is the Brave New Coin Crypto Conversation, hosted by Andy Pickering.
Hi everyone, Andy Pickering here. I'm your host and welcome to the Crypto Conversation, a Brave New Coin podcast where we talk to the people building the future in the Bitcoin, blockchain and cryptocurrency space. Hi everyone, I know we're all hurting right now. Crypto has taken a beating, and Goldman Sachs says flatlining is the best case for stock-heavy portfolios. Flatlining? Zero returns? Sheesh. In situations like these, we can take a cue from the world's best investors, because a groundbreaking Ernst & Young study last year revealed that 8 in 10 ultra-high net worth individuals invest in alternatives. However, Bank of America's CIO recommends investing in one specific high-performing alternative to rescue your cash. He's talking about fine art. 2/3 of millionaires already hedge against inflation with art, according to UBS, because the last time inflation was this high, art appreciated by an unprecedented 33.2% annually. Now, obviously, most folks don't exactly have tens of millions lying around to start buying Banksys and Basquiat's, but that's where Masterworks comes in. They're helping people keep their cash intact by offering fractional investments in the top 1% of the art world. And with a recession on the horizon, they've seen signups increase by 320%. That combined with the fact that they speak to every investor to make sure art is right for them. That means there's a wait list, but I'm hooking you guys up with priority access to skip the line. And it's as easy as going to masterworks.com and using promo code CryptoConversation. That's masterworks.com, promo code CryptoConversation, and you can see important Regulation A disclosures at masterworks.com/CD. Again, that's masterworks.com and use the promo code CryptoConversation to skip the line. And now, folks, it is on with the show. My guest today is Corbin Fraser. Corbin is Head of Financial Services at Bitcoin.com. Welcome to the show, Corbin.
Thanks for having me, Andy. Yeah, great to be here.
Great to have you here, Corbin. So I suppose we'll do what we always do at the beginning of the show, Corbin. I'd love to just hear a little bit about yourself, your background, what you've been doing in the lead up to crypto, and then we'll dive into what you do at Bitcoin.com and what is happening there. But yeah, background, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, so my name's Corbin Fraser. I've been with Bitcoin.com now over 4 years. So I think I'm considered almost an OG at the company now. I'm like one of the old guys. But I guess my crypto background, or my Spider-Man story, who bit me. It was actually I got a tip on Reddit. It would have been back in 2013, maybe early 2014. I must have said something clever. I don't recall what the comment was, but I got some Bitcoin through I think it was called Change Tip. And this was like a custodial Reddit tipping service for BTC. And I thought that was the coolest thing ever. Someone just sent me money. It was like, it might've been like $5 of Bitcoin at the time, but I was just melted my brain, and then kind of went down that whole rabbit hole of, okay, I got to learn what this Bitcoin thing is, because someone just sent me money over a Reddit thread. That was kind of interesting. At the time I was in college. I was out in Halifax, Nova Scotia. I'm originally from Canada, and basically kind of sent me on this wild journey into Bitcoin. After graduating, I ended up in kind of the agency development world. I was working for different agencies across Canada for basically building websites as an engineer. So I've got a bit of an engineering background. Basically, would have been in 2016, 2017. Yeah, it would have been 2016. I moved out to Japan. Basically just kind of wanted a little bit of an adventure while I was still young. And while I was there, I was building some Bitcoin apps. I was building actually a transaction visualizer. So it was me and another guy who's now at Bitcoin.com as well, named Paul. So hello, Paul, if you're watching this. We had built this transaction visualizer. This was like we'd started it it would have been 2017, right after the fork. So back in August 2017. And it was basically just a way to show what higher throughput looks like to ordinary people on a scaled up version of Bitcoin. I obviously was a Bitcoin guy for the longest time, and I was that nerd at like, going to dinner parties and hanging out with family and annoying people, being like, let me just give you some Bitcoin. It's the coolest thing ever. And kind of trying to Bitcoin pill all these people. And then I think it was back in 2017, 2016, probably actually, I think in the summer, I was giving it to a roommate I think his name is Josh. And I was giving him some Bitcoin. It was the first time where I had this like sticker shock of the fees. And I saw, man, I just gave this guy $5 and I spent nearly $5 to send him that. Something's wrong here. And then I kind of went back into the Reddit threads of our Bitcoin and started seeing, like, you could see a segment of the people saying, we got to scale this thing up. This thing's not going to scale if we keep using it the way we are. And I think that was kind of like okay, maybe there's something to this on-chain scaling thing. I think that kind of sent me down that path where I went from being a Bitcoin maximalist. I didn't touch ETH much. I didn't touch any other, Namecoin and Feathercoin. I was just kind of like a Bitcoin guy. And then I ended up being a Bitcoin Cash guy. So I kind of had both experiences. I've since kind of, I think evolved a lot of my stances. I'm a little bit more on the multi-chain, use whatever's useful. I think there's a lot of interesting projects in the space, and that's kind of my stance on that. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of been a fun journey. I while I was in Tokyo, I ended up getting a random email from Roger, who had seen this transaction visualizer that we had built. It was called TX Highway, and it was so he had seen it through one of the Bitcoin meetup guys that I showed it to, who must have known Roger. Got a random email from this Roger Veer account. My gut reaction was, this seems like a Bitcoin scam. Turns out it was like real Roger, and I was like, I better reply to this. And he was like, come into the office, meet the guys. Maybe there's something here for you to do. And at the time, I was running my own web agency, and I was based out of Canada, but I was working remotely from Japan. And then it became Roger's like, so can you start tomorrow? And when someone like that says, can you start tomorrow? I was like, I guess. Sure.
And so, Corbin, you're of course talking about Roger Ver, who is, I think most listeners will know who Roger is, but famously one of the original OG advocates for Bitcoin, and really, I guess Roger funded a lot of the very, very early Bitcoin startups and exchanges. And as you kind of hinted at, I think Corbin, Roger was famously the guy that really supported Bitcoin Cash after the fork in 2017. And so rightly or wrongly, everyone has their own opinions on this, but maybe we'll come back to that. So let's talk about Bitcoin.com then. So as I said, I think Roger funded a lot of the early websites, exchanges, and Bitcoin.com was one of them. And so that's where you are today as head of financial services. So I think it'd be useful then, Corbin, if you talk about the role of Bitcoin.com today, how you guys kind of approach your unique standing in the ecosystem, if you like. What is the role of Bitcoin.com today? And maybe as part of that, you can kind of tell us a little bit about what you do as head of financial services.
Sure. Yeah. So Bitcoin.com, we've had the Bitcoin.com. Obviously, we've got a great website. We've got a great domain name. We are kind of stewards of a great brand. And I think back in 2017, Bitcoin.com launched the Bitcoin.com wallet app, which supported Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. And this was back in those the tumultuous days of scaling wars. And it was kind of a silly time to be in crypto. But, I think some people look back and kind of giggle at it. But a lot of the new people have no idea what the heck was going on. Yeah. But we were building a Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash wallet. We were really focused on that in the early days in 2017, 2018. I think we've had just looking at the wider ecosystem and what's happening in Web3 and with EVM chains, it became very apparent that we need to pull back on being a part of any coin wars. Bitcoin or crypto maximalism in general, in my opinion, is one of the dumbest things. It's just a silly stance to take. But so as a company, we saw this as an opportunity to add Ethereum, add ERC20 tokens, look at adding additional chains. We ended up launching a new Bitcoin app in 2020, which was a fully native iOS Android app. We've been building off this basically since. My whole role within Bitcoin.com started off as engineering, became product manager, and then group product manager, and then worked my way up to head of financial services. So I'm basically responsible for the wider Bitcoin.com product line under the financial services brand. So basically the Bitcoin.com app, the self-custody app, we've got I think we're at 33 million wallets created now. So we're growing very fast. We've got, Bitcoin.com buy, there's the sell, there's swap. And then the big thing is that we're in the process of launching the Verse token, as well as the Verse DEX. The Verse DEX actually is live. You can access that already today at verse.bitcoin.com. It's already supporting 2 chains. It supports Ethereum and Smart BCH, which is an EVM side chain for BCH. And we're looking at expanding into more chains very, very soon. And basically at Bitcoin.com, we're trying to make crypto easier for everyone. And we talk about this a lot in the office. It's just like, can we get Bitcoin and crypto in general to a point where it's mom friendly? Like if you can onboard your mom, we're in a better position. And there's a lot of Bitcoin apps, there's a lot of Web3 apps that really, they don't appeal to my mom. And if my mom's not going to use it, the world's not going to use it. So, I think we've all been in those positions. Anyone in this like kind of internet culture, where you get dragged into like mom's printer's not working. Nobody wants to get dragged into mom's Bitcoin wallet isn't syncing to her node. So I think we need to kind of abstract away some of the technical mumbo jumbo and provide a clear, easy path for normal people who are not technically minded and maybe not part of this internet culture and maybe are not on the cutting edge of technology, to provide them with a path to onboard into Bitcoin, feel comfortable, safe enough, secure, that they've got their seeds backed up, and then ensure that we have this path to onboard them into some of the exciting things you can do in crypto, whether that's through Web3, whether that's through DeFi, whether that's through just getting an NFT. There's like a whole exciting world right now, and Bitcoin.com's basically trying to build out that conversion funnel from BTC user to feeling comfortable enough to swap into something else, be that stable coin or another cryptocurrency, and then being able to use those different cryptocurrencies for different things in a decentralized, non-custodial manner.
Yeah. Okay. Well, interesting, Corbin, and it's very hard to argue with that funnel. It makes sense to me, but I suppose if there is a way to argue with it, the flip side of that is if we're wanting to get our moms or pops, if you like, into crypto, isn't the kind of the safe, sensible pathway for the moms and the pops is just to maybe get them a Coinbase wallet or whatever the equivalent is in your kind of your local region, and maybe they can chip away with a dollar cost average approach, and then they don't necessarily have to worry too much about losing their seed phrase or their private key or whatever it is, because there's a lot can go wrong with expecting mom to self-custody her Bitcoin, right? Still,
yeah,
today.
I think a lot of the self-custodial wallets have made the onboarding process for different people a little bit more difficult. They're targeting, we've got personas within the Bitcoin.com user segments. So we've kind of defined them as a few different things. There's Norman, who's kind of your ordinary Joe, kind of new to crypto, might be like the Bitcoin mom who like heard about it on CNN and is like, I better check this stuff out. And then we've got like Daiki, who's a little bit more the college age, more tech savvy, more community focused. And then there's like Jeremy, which is like full on DeFi, crypto degen, been in the space for a while. And we really focus on catering to this Norman segment of just ordinary folks that are trying to tap into their knowledge of Bitcoin and acquire their first crypto. We see this as like Bitcoin.com as a gateway to crypto. And we feel that the best course for everyone is to get them into self-custody immediately. I think what we're seeing in different countries like Canada, with people having their banks censored because they supported a particular truckers rally, or be that you support the wrong party in the wrong country, or you just privy to some extreme KYC travel rules required. I think recently Coinbase, now if you try to send a Coinbase transaction in Europe, you have to ensure that the address that you're sending to has been KYC'd. So these all create these really, in my opinion, terrible friction points that are going to prevent mass adoption. So what we're looking at is providing that as easy as possible self-custodial way to get users into the Bitcoin.com wallet app and provide them with an onboarding journey that rivals Coinbase, in my opinion.
Yeah. All right. Makes sense as well, Corbin. So I'd love to, get your views on Bitcoin Cash today, just because I'm fascinated. I'm interested. One of the reasons I'm interested, Corbin, is well, firstly, let me just say that you said that now you think it doesn't make sense. A Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash or any chain maximalism doesn't make sense in today's world, and I agree with that. I think that's the right approach. But I'm still fascinated as to where Bitcoin Cash is today. And one of the reasons is because I think, Corbin, this episode, when we publish it, might be episode 299 of the Crypto Conversation.
299. Hey, well, congratulations.
So I've done 299 episodes. Wow. In those 229 episodes, I think I've only had one other guest who out and out said, he was at one point a Bitcoin Cash maximalist. And I'm sure you'll know this person because he was only on the show about it was actually earlier this month, 6 episodes ago. So his name is Stefan Rust. I'm sure you know.
Yeah, I know Stefan. I know Stefan very well. Yeah, he's a great guy.
Because he spent a lot of time with you guys at Bitcoin.com. He's now doing some other projects as well. But well, I'm fascinated. What is your personal opinion on kind of I guess Bitcoin Cash and where Bitcoin Cash is today?
Yeah. Happy to share. I mean, I'm confident in my ability to say I once was, and in some ways probably could still be labeled a B casher. It's like, I'll wear that. I'll wear that on my chest every day. I think, there was a lot of debate in those 2017, 2018, even 2019. I mean, still to this day, there's a lot of people that feel like Bitcoin Cash is the original vision of what Bitcoin was meant to be. So when I started in Bitcoin, the thing that Bitcoin pilled me was receiving it as a form of payment through Reddit. It's like, whoa, I got $5 on Reddit. But, it proceeded over those, I'd say 4 to 5 years through to 2017, leading up into the fork, that, it was very clear that the Bitcoin core development team was not focused on trying to scale the chain, but rather to create a fee market to focus more on the digital gold, unique selling proposition of Bitcoin, which is a fine stance to take, in my opinion. If Bitcoin wants to be digital gold now, I think there's a good place for that. I think it's okay to have this this competitive alternative, let's say, to traditional government issued currencies, right? But yeah, so I think on the Bitcoin Cash side of stuff, their community was basically forked off of Bitcoin. It was like a good portion of the corporations that saw Bitcoin as needing to scale, good portion of, the Reddit community of our Bitcoin, that would talk about scaling and then suddenly get banned for talking about scaling. Because there's a lot of weird, there's a lot of weird hypocrisy in the Bitcoin community where everyone says, we're for free speech and libertarian rights and decentralized money. But then there's also some people within the Bitcoin space that do a lot of things that are maybe antithetical to that stance. And I think what a lot of the Bitcoin Cash people saw was that hypocrisy, and which resulted in, the Amaury Sachet, which was the Bitcoin ABC developer, who said, all right, guys, I don't think this SegWit 2x thing is going to happen. I'm just going to fork it and, be the leader here. And, I think I tell this to a lot of people, but I was actually a Bitcoin Cash user or a B casher or whatever you want to call us before Roger. Roger was holding out for SegWit 2x. A lot of people, miscategorize Roger as like a founder of Bitcoin Cash. He was just a supporter, and he was later than me. So he came in after, I think, the SegWit 2x proposal failed, which was to scale the Bitcoin block size from 2 megabytes to 4 megabytes. And this was all part of an agreement with the miners and the core developers. And in order to integrate SegWit, it was kind of like this meet in the middle situation. And then the meet in the middle thing never really happened. They got rugged, and it was like, we're not doing that. It's not a priority anymore. And then I think all of those people who were holding out for more scaling on chain said, all right, well, we're going to go build somewhere else. And a lot of people within the community that followed the Bitcoin community ended up over here at Bitcoin Cash and doing some stuff like, focusing on low fee transactions. And then I think they kind of continued carrying that banner of peer-to-peer electronic cash, which is, in the title of the white paper, and people focused on, in the early days of Bitcoin, onboarding merchants. I remember being in our Bitcoin community and people getting all excited when like a new store would accept Bitcoin and get a photo of them, and everyone saying, "Oh my God, we're getting adoption so quick! Look at this happen!" And then it became this like, the fees are too high, so like don't bother doing that. It's digital gold. And then, but the Bitcoin Cash guys just ran with that, and I got excited about that. I thought the whole purpose of Bitcoin was to challenge the status quo. And in my opinion, digital gold, while it does challenge parts of it, in my opinion, if you're not using it on a regular basis, if you're not creating more utility through commerce, there's a limited use case there. And while gold has a use case, there's let's say you can use it in watches and jewelry and some science equipment and stuff like that. Great. You still need that base use case, in my opinion, for every crypto. And I still think like peer-to-peer cash is one of the original kind of dApps on crypto. And yeah, my whole journey there was kind of around this utility aspect. So we were looking at things like scaling the blockchain. But I mean, I think this is kind of the interesting thing with the Bitcoin Cash community, is that because it was built off of this foundation of really diehard, independent, I would say libertarian ideals, there's a lot of infighting. And if you've ever followed any libertarian debates, they just fight over everything. And this is kind of what Bitcoin Cash has been doing since it started. There's an ongoing, they're always kind of battling a little bit about how to best scale. And these are some of the problems that I think cryptocurrencies need to be careful of when they are focusing on scaling. Is, well, what tolerance to risk are you ready for? And then, yeah, through that, we've seen various forks off of Bitcoin Cash. There's now been, there was Bitcoin SV, which is the Craig Wright coin. Good luck to Craig and whatever the heck he's doing. He's a character. And then, you've got the Bitcoin ABC team, which were kind of ousted due to them trying to get some funding built right into the block. So they've started their own coin and their own fork of Bitcoin Cash called eCash. So there's been these like various little splinters that have broken off of Bitcoin Cash. However, Bitcoin Cash is still doing its thing. There's the BCHN guys that are kind of picking up the slack. And then recently, just in the last, say, 8 months, there's been an EVM sidechain added to Bitcoin Cash, which has seen some adoption as well. So I think they're trying to, remain a part of the wider crypto conversation. But I think throughout that process with various forks, many Bitcoin Cash users realize that like maximalism is dumb. I've been the Bitcoin maximalist guy. I've been the Bitcoin Cash maximalist. It doesn't really you're from New Zealand, right, Andy?
Correct.
And
yes.
You've got like, we've got all these different government currencies, but there's no real there's no Kiwi dollar Reddit where they're like fighting and arguing with the Canadian dollar Reddit. And then they're like on Twitter bashing each other's coins. It's just pure nonsense. So I think, when you can kind of like abstract that thought of like, it's just money. Why do you care? Use whatever's useful. If being a part of Web3 NFT is important to you, you might want to use certain chains. If digital gold's important to you, you might want to use that. If you're using it as peer-to-peer cash to spend at markets and different commerce, great, try some Bitcoin Cash. But there's all these different utility use cases that different coins are focusing on. And I think what will naturally happen over time is that various coins that are going to compete in the marketplace, in the free market, are going to adopt the best ones, the most useful ones that attract the most utility, the most users, and solve a problem for ordinary people, and then just naturally adopt it. Those that don't are, they might just be limited to that single use case, which is fine. But yeah, that's kind of my wide summary take on BCH and maximalism, I guess, in general.
No, well, thank you for sharing your thoughts, Corbin. And it's fascinating. And I must admit, I don't really follow Bitcoin Cash these days myself. And from my point of view, and look, it's only my view, but it feels like Bitcoin is kind of I don't know if it's won that battle in the market, but maybe in terms of the Bitcoin forks, at least, I think the market's kind of settled it that, yeah, Bitcoin is Bitcoin. And
Of course.
it's too soon to say, rightly or wrongly, whether following that digital gold route is the correct route to kind of, I don't know, where we want to get to, which is mass adoption, right? But it feels like there is a need for that kind of censorship-resistant store of value, digital gold, however you want to call it. And maybe...
I agree.
Yeah, so there's that. And, I don't know how the Lightning Network and how that all plays out. And it feels like there's, now we have stable coins as well, which kind of fulfills that, I guess, peer-to-peer... digital dollar outside the outside the fiat rails, but it is still very early, Corbin. But I want to get to what are you calling it? Verse. You're wearing the T-shirt, so I should be able to see that. We'll get to Verse real soon, but just a quick note on, you're talking about how libertarians have this habit of arguing or fighting over everything, and I think that's maybe that's unfair to libertarians, because if anyone who spends any time on crypto Twitter, it just amazes me, Corbin. I'm a little bit burnt out on it, to be honest, but the constant arguing back and forward, it used to be like Bitcoin versus Bitcoin Cash. At the moment, it feels like it's, Bitcoin maximalists versus part-time Bitcoiners versus ETH heads, and it just never stops, does it?
Yeah, and I think the medium of these communication platforms creates, in my opinion, the toxicity. Because if you can get a room full of Bitcoin guys and Bitcoin Cash guys and Ethereum guys and Neo guys, and they're gonna find some common ground to have a civil conversation. I think being in person with someone, there's like I don't know, there's that like social social awkwardness that prevents you from being a complete jerk. But it's so much easier to be a complete jerk online and throw out shade and throw out salty remarks than it is in person, where the risk is you're going to get punched in the face, or you're going to get ostracized within this like little micro community of conversation. So I think there's like some benefit in just getting in front of people, having these real conversations, and not being so hostile to one another. Because at the end of the day, I think there's a lot more in common with different crypto communities than there are, say, in stark contrast. That like there's always going to be some people that are maybe more pro decentralization than security, or more pro security than decentralization, and there's that blockchain trilemma that they need to figure out within their own communities. But the underlying basis of like banking sucks in general, crypto solves many problems, government issued currencies inflate and do some really sketchy things with modern monetary theory, and Bitcoin and cryptocurrency tries to challenge that and provides an alternative that's never existed before 2009. So I think no matter what currency you're working for or playing with, we all kind of have to thank Bitcoin and the original, white paper. It's still, in my opinion, one of the greatest inventions in the last 100 years. I think it's gonna be that way for a while. Irregardless of Bitcoin's status or market cap, it's a great gift to humanity.
I love it, and I couldn't agree more. So if that's the case, then if Bitcoin, the original white paper, Satoshi's, I shouldn't even say Satoshi's vision, because there's too many subtexts.
You're going to trigger some BCH people, yeah.
Exactly. But so if Bitcoin was Satoshi's gift to the world, then why make the case for why we need another utility token then, Corbin, with Verse? What is Verse, and why do we need it? Because man, we've got a lot of utility tokens out there.
That's it. Well, I think like the token use case, in my opinion, has been proven like highly valuable to the wider ecosystem. There was attempts at doing tokens on Bitcoin in the early days, and it just didn't scale. It wasn't really a chain built bespoke for tokens. And what Vitalik did with the Ethereum side of stuff, I was skeptical at first too, and I think this is kind of the interesting thing that a lot of crypto people become, is like the natural default is skepticism. This isn't going to work. This is stupid. And then you gradually kind of start seeing some things potentially work. And then you kind of see the early adopters figure it out, and then you can start playing with it a little bit more, where you're like, okay, if everyone else is trusting it, maybe I'll play around with it. It can't be that bad. And I think, you know, the token ecosystem and what's been done with decentralized swaps and automatic market makers on ETH, and which is expanded into other L1s and L2s. In my opinion, it's one of the next greatest leaps from the original Bitcoin white paper, is providing users the ability to trade permissionlessly and create a familiar experience with trading, a familiar experience with swapping, a familiar experience with traditional trading tools as well. If you're a high frequency trader and you're coming from that traditional background, you can move into DeFi fairly easily now, thanks to different tools that are available. And what we see with Bitcoin.com and our Verse token is, you know, we've got 33 million wallets created. We've got tons of users coming to Bitcoin.com on a daily basis. And what we're trying to do is onboard those people into crypto in the easiest way possible. Rewards programs, even before Bitcoin, were a common thing. Many of you guys may have used, you know, things like air miles, or you know, in Canada we use Canadian Tire money, which is kind of a silly thing that we do in Canada. But we've you go to Canadian Tire, you buy a new I don't know, chainsaw or lawnmower, and they'll give you a percentage of the purchase back in these Canadian Tire dollars, which can only be used at Canadian Tire. And then there was kind of a secondary market that was made with the Canadian Tire money. You had like, actually, I think it was the guys from Tragically Hip famously paid for some studio session time in Canadian Tire money, which was pretty cool. So it's kind of like became this, like, you know, a little bit of a secondary use case. But at the end of the day, the rewards tokens are kind of an engagement reactivation tool that allows companies to nudge people back into their products, get them to play around a little bit more. And, you know, from our end, we're trying to provide utility through various means. You know, obviously we've got the Verse DEX, which is already launched at verse.bitcoin.com. We've got the self-custody wallet, which we're integrating various rewards into. So picture things like, it's your first time coming to the bitcoin.com wallet. You've made your first purchase. We give you a little bonus and say thanks in Verse rewards. We can offer cashback incentives through purchases. And we're actually launching very soon a bitcoin.com card, which will be a prepaid debit card. And this will also have Verse rewards integrated right into it, which we're excited about. So, you know, this offers ordinary people, and like talking about mom-friendly Bitcoin. If mom's holding some Bitcoin or some Ethereum or some stable coins, and she's like, wow, the market's doing pretty good here, and I could use that, I don't know, the new boots that I was looking at. It's winter, I need some new boots. They can say, all right, I'll top up this card with some crypto. I'll spend the money on my card, and I'll get a little bit of cash back in Verse. And it's just an easy kind of thank you that we can offer to our users. We can expand that utility as well through various things that we're doing at Bitcoin.com, which will include a token launchpad. We're looking at also doing various things within lending and borrowing pools with Verse. And then, of course, you know, from a basic user standpoint, any of the Verse rewards they get, they can also swap back into more Bitcoin. They can swap back into more stable coins. They can swap into other currencies through the Verse DEX and through other DEXs that we'll be launching liquidity pools on.
All right, so yeah, sounds reasonably intriguing then, Corbin, and it looks like, so I can see that that DEX that you mentioned. Also, if people want to know more, so there's a token sale, right, for Verse, and the website is getverse.com. Doesn't apply to people in the US, of course, but most other countries around the world. Just talk us through, if people want to get involved, they can go to getverse.com, and what do they need to do from there, Corbin?
Yeah, there's a whitelisting process at getverse.com. You can, of course, go to bitcoin.com. We've got a big banner there as well to get to it. And yeah, we're going to be accepting Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, USDT, USDC, to basically allow users to purchase the Verse token sale. So this is aiming to be launched in fall 2022. We've got a large Discord, Telegram community already started. There's various memes and stickers already going around in there, but yeah, we're seeing this as like an opportunity to activate and capture a lot of the Bitcoin.com users that have been with us since 2017. So, from our standpoint, we want to make sure that the Bitcoin.com users and wider communities that we're activating through adding more chains have the opportunity to purchase Verse tokens through the token sale and begin immediately seeding Verse Dex LP, and through that, they can unlock additional farming rewards. So if anyone's familiar with, say, something like the Uniswap farms or the Sushi Swap farms, very similar. The Verse Dex is a Uniswap V2 fork, similar to Sushi. We've got, we'll have the Verse farm set up as well, so that the users that are staking their Verse through the LP will be able to earn additional rewards. And it's kind of an easy way for us to distribute the Verse to the widest number of wallets. And we see the token sale as being, one of the easiest ways to ensure that, we've got all these great users that are actively engaged in our app, and we want to make sure that they're there to benefit from being early. All
right. Thank you for that. Very nice. Feels like a nice place to pause. We'll go to a very quick break, and then sure. We'll come back. We'll finish off. We'll have some fun. We'll run Corbin through the very famous Crypto Conversation hot take round. Back in 1 second.
Here's what's being said about Masterworks.
My name is Jacob N. I'm from Long Island, and I've invested over $73,000 with Masterworks. My portfolio performance just wasn't cutting it. I researched all these alternative investments, like crypto and NFTs, but they didn't make sense to me. Then I read about Masterworks in Forbes, and I signed up right away. And now you can too. Thanks, Masterworks.
Get VIP access at masterworks.io and use promo code JACOB. See important disclosures at masterworks.io/DC.
And boom, we are back, and I'm with Corbin Fraser. Corbin is the head of financial services at Bitcoin.com. Corbin, I like to finish each podcast, with a quick round of rapid fire crypto conversation hot takes. Are you up for it?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it, Corbin. Just going to run some questions at you. Just answer them any way you want, really. Just kind of hot take style is how we try and do it, quick and snappy. Sure. Question 1, bit of a funny one for you, Corbin. Where would you say that you sit on the Bitcoin maximalist to multi-chain opportunist spectrum?
Yeah, I'm a former Bitcoin maximalist, a former Bitcoin Cash maximalist, and then realized that everything is a cult, and have moved very hard into multi-coin. I think, nobody is a maximalist towards any fiat currency, and I think it's just a silly take that kind of emerged out of crypto communities. And I think people need to be very wary of, accidentally joining cults and accidentally taking strong opinions of other people through the interesting, social media platforms that we all participate on. I would say in general, nobody's an Apple maximalist. Well, maybe there's some Apple maximalists, but nobody's a Facebook maximalist. Let's put it that way, right? There's very few I only use Facebook as social media. So I think the market can change. Bitcoin may not be the king forever. There's a chance that, maybe Ethereum comes in and flips it, or maybe some new currency in the next 5 years comes out that beats everything that's ever been done to date. And we're saying, geez, we might be looking at Bitcoin someday in the future as like the 8-track player, which, very useful, got us to CDs and got us to, Napster and got us to Spotify, but who knows? So I think it's just it's good to keep open mind. I think open-mindedness is a good trait for everyone participating in crypto, because it's such a fast-moving industry, and you really need to just be open to trying new things.
I love it. All right. Well, if that's the case, then Corbin, what would you say is your firmest conviction, crypto opinion?
Man, I think because I come from, a little bit of a background in business and in Canada, where we've seen kind of pervasive overreach from the government, I would say, in my opinion, regulations are a net negative. I think I haven't seen an objectively good government yet. I think there's less altruism by nature in governments than there is in smaller groups of people. I think people are more altruistic than a big government entity, which doesn't really have a soul. And I think the best way to defend yourself against, say, the nonsense of government and government overreach and In my opinion, just the risk of, banks shutting down your account, the risk of government saying you're not allowed to vote that way, you're not allowed to say those things, you're not allowed to think that way. The best way to combat that is to ensure that you've got a percentage of your wealth in a self-custody wallet, those 12 magic words that can save you from a world of pain in the future. It's a bit of it's an onboarding journey that you've got to get familiar with, but it's there to protect you from tyrants and from governments that perhaps don't have your needs kind of in mind. They don't have you. They're not thinking about you. They don't care about you. They care about the government.
Nicely said as well, Corbin. All right, well, Bill Gates famously said that we tend to overestimate what we can accomplish in 2 years and underestimate what we can accomplish in 10. With that in mind, Corbin, Bitcoin, Ethereum, blockchain, Web3, whatever you like, what does it look like in 10 years' time?
10 years' time, there's probably still going to be people infighting. I think that's just that's the monkey brain in us. I think we're
Craig Wright will still be suing people. Yeah.
Craig Wright's going to be suing. He'll probably be on to me and you by then. I don't know. Yeah, at some point that list is going to get pretty long. But there's going to be infighting amongst coins still. I mean, we can say on this podcast, hey, everyone should be more open-minded and try to get along. But man, human nature just loves people love team sports. It's baked into us from the gladiator days. It's like, I'm cheering for this guy, and it's primal. And I don't think that's going to go away. So 10 years, we're still fighting. There's still going to be some, I think, communities that are working together. I think we'll see more wider adoption of DeFi into the ecosystem. I think we're going to see Bitcoiners come around as well. And you've seen that with Matt Blue, who's one of the core developers, kind of saying maximalism is kind of stupid. There's a lot of interesting things being done in DeFi and on other chains that Bitcoiners need to be aware of, because it could be a path for Bitcoin to further provide utility to its growing users. And I think, 10 years, we'll hopefully start seeing some countries adopt crypto as nation-backed money. I think El Salvador kind of paved the road, and I think we're in a potentially a nice, let's say, onboarding journey for additional nations that maybe want to take a different stance.
Yep. All right. I like it. The flip side of that, Corbin, is a quote by William Gibson, who famously said that the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. Can you think of an example of the future being here right now, but most people just aren't really aware of it?
Yeah, I think we're already on that. We're already transhumanists. We've made that journey from reading newspapers and reading cave paintings, and now we're so tapped in more than any culture's ever been. I sometimes catch myself reading these telegrams where I'm like, why have I been in this group for an hour? I've just lost an hour of my day. Or you get sucked into a Twitter thread and going through that. We're already kind of tied to these machines. It might not be, Elon Musk tapped right into our brain, but it's done a pretty good job, hand to brain, eye to screen. So I think we're already kind of in this weird sci-fi kind of novel that probably is something that William Gibson would have been giggling. He'd be giggling at, saying what the heck is going on?
No doubt. And that takes us to the final question, Corbin, which is, what is your favorite science fiction book, film, or TV show?
Yeah, I'm a huge sci-fi geek. I tend to go towards the classics. I like vintage sci-fi. I always like this idea of these writers in the 40s and 50s and where they were thinking things would be, and then comparing there's some books and novels where they're talking the year is 2020 and we're an interplanetary species, and it's man, you guys were so far off, but it's cool that you guys were thinking this way. I would say one of my favorites is The Star Is My Destination by Alfred Bester. It's a great story about this guy named Gully Foyle. It's kind of like an anti-hero, and in the story they figured out how to do teleportation and human point-to-point teleportation, and it disrupts society, disrupts kind of the economics of of this interplanetary human civilization, and you've got like the inner planets at war and the outer planets kind of being like, the hardcore, like out there settlers, let's say. And yeah, you've got this like anti-hero who's kind of like shaking things up on a revenge kick. And it's got it's got some fun undertones, I think, if you're a crypto guy, because it does have like, I think that teleportation idea of just disrupting economics in the world has some similarities with Bitcoin and crypto. And I think the revenge kick in it kind of makes me giggle because, man, I really think crypto can help change the world and make banking and make finance and make people's money a lot better. Of course, those like other books, like Dune, huge fan of Foundation, huge fan of what else? Ender's Game. I like the Orson Scott Card's whole series. I thought that was fun. The newest one I read on sci-fi wise would have been Recursion by Blake Crouch. Cool time bending kind of sci-fi novel, worth checking out. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Corbin. Some great picks there. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for coming on the show. Nothing else really to say except hand the metaphorical microphone back to your good self. Please, again, just tell the people where they can go if they want to get their mom into crypto or get some verse. Bitcoin.com. What else should they do? Where should they go? And, do you have a Twitter? Where can people find you on the internet?
Yep, absolutely. So of course, if you're onboarding, your friends or family, and you want to get them into self-custodial wallets where they don't need to worry about, the governments or companies or big tech taking their money, come check out Bitcoin.com. You can find us in the app stores. You can go to Bitcoin.com. There's going to be some interesting opportunities for people who are using the app. Obviously it pays to be early. So I would recommend people start downloading the wallet, start using it. I think you can find me on Twitter at Maple Syrup Sucker. I think there's no ER, it's just an R, kind of like Flickr, if you remember that photo sharing website. I think I ran out of words or ran out of characters. I think, Bitcoin.com is really just focused on providing that multi-chain, self-custodial, easy point of access for new users, where we can kind of level you up from, I know nothing about Bitcoin to I know something about Bitcoin to I feel comfortable swapping into another thing to I feel comfortable playing around with some of this DeFi stuff and potentially making a better world, making a better world for myself, and having some fun along the way too.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Corbin. All the best, and bye for now.
Thanks, Andy.